A number of socialists have latterly launched a crusade against what they call the principle of authority. It suffices to tell them that this or that act is authoritarian for it to be condemned. This summary mode of procedure is being abused to such an extent that it has become necessary to look into the matter somewhat more closely. Thank you, Engels. Today we're going to look at exactly the thing that Engels warned us about 150 years ago, this time responding to Anark's last video. It was a clip from his latest stream called quote unquote Marxism-Leninism doesn't work. They are lying to you. Look at how ideologically charged this is. First of all, it insinuates that Marxism-Leninism is not Marxism. And you know, this guy is such a good authority in Marxism because he doesn't read any Marxist theory. Anyway, so it's a 12-minute video. It can't be worse than the Bad Mouse video. At least I hope so. This time I'm alone. I don't have a Parker with me. Yeah, but this is just like a horrible liberal propaganda. Like, we are in one of the deepest crises of capitalism since like 2008. There is a genocidal war against Iran, against the Palestinians, against the Lebanese people. There is incredible like state-sanctioned violence in the USA right now. Right here in Quebec, we are actively organizing. We are ramping up our efforts in propagandizing for our worker councils. We are entering a phase of strikes, probably going towards a general strike too. And so we need to have like an actual framework to take advantage of these conditions of crisis and to actually advance the class struggle rather than stomp on past socialist experiments because you think they were authoritarians. Like, it's incredible. Yeah, as you say, Marxist-Leninists these past few months, I mean, forever, have been advocating for a like left unity in some spaces, right? While anarchists oppose any and all authoritarian tendencies they see. So there's a few points I want to address before like diving into this Anark video. First of all, like as we saw this with the Bad Mouse video, like these people have like very quote unquote revolutionary or like the masses are riled up sort of discourse. They have a very like revolutionary not discourse. How do I say this? A like they say things that sound revolutionary, right? Like unite the masses against the oligarchy, all power to the people, and many of Anark's video are like going over organizing methods, and there are very major flaws in this thinking. And I do think that anarchists should study Marxism-Leninism before talking upon it. So the claims that these people make are that Marxism is authoritarian and Marxism-Leninism is authoritarian, but it's like we've seen it with the Bad Mouse video, right? They think that to liberate the people, you need to establish communism. You need to establish a horizontal mode of organization. And they when you ask them how you're going to establish this, they never have a plan. They talk about like preparing like a parallel structure to the state, and to take over when the state eventually like becomes obsolete. And they don't like dig very deep into how this happens. And oftentimes you ask them, like, straightforward, how do you achieve this? And Bad Mouse's response was that, oh, it's not a good question to be asking. You shouldn't be asking how do we do this, but rather why we think this. And in my head, I'm like, how do you even go about responding to something like this? It's so beyond idealist. It is like petit bourgeois individualism. Your personal, individual person reigns supreme above the collective project of building socialism. And it's incredibly, like, it's disingenuous, it's selfish, it's egotistical, it's individualistic. I could go on and on and on and on, but, like, this is one point. The other point is that the anarchists of this type, like Anark, like Bad Mouse, have moralist conceptions of society as a whole. They don't operate on a materialist analysis. They don't understand dialectical and historical materialism. They don't see like society as a social science, but they do. I mean, sorry, this is a bit far-fetched. I'm gonna go back on this, but like a lot of anarchists in the academic field of social sciences, of course, I do acknowledge that, and many anarchists have contributed a lot to the movements, mostly before Marx. But seriously, like, they operate on moralist principles. They have a moralist denunciations of authority. While, like, for example, when Marxists talk about self-determination, it's because the self-determination of nations resolves a contradiction between power and another. Like, it's a synthesis of historical materialism, if you see what I'm saying. Maybe this is, like, too far-fetched for, like, the point I'm making, but it's just, like, they oppose authority, and Marxism-Leninism is authoritarian because once, let's say the example of the Russian Revolution, right? You had, first of all, in the February Revolution, a revolt, a strike of women workers who were tired of the war effort, seeing their sons dying in a war against other workers, or peasants in this case, because it was feudal Russia. And so it escalated to a full-on revolution with the Red Army taking power, the Red Army being the Bolsheviks, with a broad support from the masses. And in this case, like, they were under attack from the White Army, the Green Army. They were under attack from Germany. They were under attack from the bourgeois and the aristocratic factions. They were also under attack from the anarchists in Makhnovia. They were also under attack from the Mensheviks, who were, like, constantly trying to undo the progress that was done. So, like, this is the historical context for the start of the USSR. On this note, I do have a very good recommendation. I'm sure you all know Rev Left Radio. Overall, like, it's a great resource for like, actual talks about philosophy, theory, and such. I don't think everything is pertinent. I don't think, like, the Buddhism aspect is very much principled, let's say, or coherent. But anyway, there is an episode on the Russian Revolution, which I very much so enjoyed. Not like as entertainment, but as actual education. The guy telling this was incredibly insightful. It was very well told, and he didn't miss a single detail in this history, down to, like, that one time Trotsky brought a fucking warship to the Winter Palace. But what I wanted to go on with this idea that they needed to, like, seize state power. And once they seize the state power, because the state apparatus, right, it is a special body of armed men, the police, and the bourgeois military. And it is a bureaucratic apparatus, right? Like it's not nothing is as simple as just destroying the state. For example, in like Quebec, we have 500,000 public sector workers. Most of those are teachers and healthcare workers. Those are very easy to get on our side, obviously, because they're all unionized, and well, not all, but most of them, and a lot of them, from experience, achieve class consciousness. A lot of bureaucrats too. Like myself, I am a bureaucrat for the government. As a student, right, I am an intern and I produce maps. I just do maps. So there's no like class opposition to socialism from this kind of like bureaucracy. When it comes to like the environmental ministry or the transport department or whatever, a lot of people are just doing this because it's a field they studied in university or whatever. But then you have okay, I'm gonna expand on that. Like the bureaucrats, as we've seen with like the bureaucrat class in the USSR or something that Anark and the likes often talk about, like it's not an actual class. It doesn't relate to the means of production. Like we are wage laborers, and in the USSR, the planners didn't have like a different relationship to the means of production that the workers did. They didn't profit from it. There was no private property of the means of production. So this is incredibly silly. But to go back to the point about ministries and seizing state power, right? You have a state apparatus that you need to use. You need to crush like the bourgeois elements in it, right? You crush it and you build it back up. But of course, it's legitimate to keep some aspects of it, like as long as it doesn't interfere with the class struggle. Because, you know, we live in a society, we need to produce things in order for people to live. We need to maintain road infrastructure. We need to maintain like a viable healthcare system. So there are certainly things to be done with this, but like you need to have like a society that functions when you seize state power. So the Bolsheviks immediately went on with a broad support of the masses, with a project that propulsed the country like towards an actual democratization from the feudal order. But I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm going to continue. So you ask these anarchists, how do you see state power? How do you maintain it? And they only talk about like horizontalism and the likes, but like there's really something there. It's hard to articulate it, but like it, for them, authority is like an unmissing thing. Authority and bureaucracy are things that are above the class struggle. For them, the capitalist authority, being the authority of the capitalists, the bourgeois who own the means of production, sorry, French accents coming in clutch here, and the capitalist state's special body of armed men, the police, are on the same level of oppression and getting away from communism and getting away from egalitarianism as the communist planners, the Supreme Soviet, the councils of workers that work together to actually advance the socialist project. And it's infantile. Like for them, they have to oppose authority wherever it may be, and authoritarianism, as in also like socialist projects. Not only is it incredibly infantile because it's not principled, they don't define authority in like a consistent manner. They think that whenever like workers see state power, they should just instantly abolish anything that resembles hierarchy or authority, And then they go on about talking about, oh yeah, but we agree with a hierarchy of knowledge, or like when you go to the doctor and such. But you do realize that the organization of a socialist state is made up of worker councils and planners, and there that is a hierarchy of like knowledge, because the people who are going to get involved in the councils are people who know what the conditions are people who know what is to be produced, are people who know what is needed. They're not like a separate class of bureaucrats or authoritarians. They're workers working together in a common socialist goal. So anyway, like I I just struggle with accepting these ideas as principle. I'm gonna look at the chat for a bit, and then we're gonna be able to go to the actual video. Yes. Wait. First of all, regarding the time, I set up this stream to be at like 3:30 p.m. and like we have a weird time zone mess up where it's like it said it was gonna be at 4:30 instead of 3:30. Anyway, yeah. Another thing I wanted to touch on is how you're gonna see it with this Anark video, and you're gonna see it with the. I mean, you saw it with the Bad Mouse video. The production quality of a lot of these videos is incredible. These people have like very genuine video making and editing skills, and the quality of the content, simply talking about the audio and the video visuals, is very alluring. It's well made shit, right? But it takes away from the actual arguments, because people see this, they're like, ooh, good editing, and then they blindly believe anything this person says because it's in a smug voice like this, and whoa, everything I say is true because these people are wrong and I sound better than them. I am a Chad and they are soy Wojak chuds. Like, having a well produced video with a lot of like production value does not make you right or principled or correct. It just means the video quality is good. But people fall for this like video production quality for some reason. But it's not the only reason. There's also the fact that a lot of these people operate on very idealist individual basis. For them, the fact that they hold like anti-authoritarian ideas is praxis and like concrete action. And it's I'm losing my words over it, right? All right. Yakubian asks if I've read any Che's economic notes. I have not. I want to like finish what I've started to read. Right now, I'm halfway through Anti-During from the goat Freddie Engels, and then I'm going to read a bit more Hoja, and then I got recently Fidel Castro's speech at the tribunal, right? History will absolve me, and along with that, I want to read on Che, notably A Revolutionary Life, right? The biography, the Motorcycle Diaries, and of course the Economic Notes. And yes, Jarvis. I can't say Jarvis with a straight face with all these driving videos, right? Jarvis, how do I maintain side power? But yeah, a lot of people shut this logical brain off, and they only think about like what their ideal is. They don't want to reason or think about how to actually achieve things. um, and they often resort to like just doing mutual aid. I mean, it's fine. Just like you're very welcome to do mutual aid and propagandize against capitalism. Like there's an effort to actually bring class consciousness from a few anarchists. Um, I I know of a few anarchists who aren't this type of like actual like counter-revolutionary goals, but I mean they don't believe in a party or whatever. They only believe in like individual action. But still, I mean they're feeding people. They're organizing like parallel structures, and this is something that the Black Panthers did too with their People's Protracted War. Sorry. All of the Hoshists in the chat are gonna get mad over this. I'm kidding. I lean more towards Hoja than Maoism, even though it's still unclear in my head. But I do think that Mao's like very. There's a lot of like metaphysics stuff, lots of weird stuff, and I do think that Hoja was more principled. But like, anyway, it doesn't matter to this conversation right now. Yeah. Like the more you read, the more you educate yourself, the more you realize that it's important to have like a not the flexible, all adapting framework that Bad Mouse talked about. It's important to have a solid foundation, a solid framework like dialectical materialism, which you can analyze everything around you with and come to principal stances, right? Yeah. It's the thing that, like, yeah, God forbid, as you said, the state's in Bolshevik, that God forbid, let the proletariat exerts its ability to actually defend themselves instead of allowing themselves to get crushed and obliterated by the bourgeoisie. Yeah. Like, oh my god. Yes, ARA, I do have to read more Hoja. It's my woke show. The entirety of ARML is in the chat. Yeah, but yeah. Actually, right now I'm going to Enver Hoja MIA. I'm going to pin this Hoja Internet Archive. I'm going to do audiobooks of everything this man has ever written on the second channel. But of course, go on the anti-revision section for actual like audiobooks. I have a few ones on there. Actually, I think I have two. One was Stalin's speech on. No, Hoja's speech upon the death of Stalin, and the other was Stalin on social democracy and the international situation. Okay, so let me just figure something out before I open the video, because it's been 24 minutes of rambling. How are there 20 people watching? Usually there's like 10 people. Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, of course. I think we should all go down to the bunker and read Hoja. So. It's so annoying. I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, perfect. So, where's the chat? Of course, yes. November 8th, Publishing House, if anyone is interested. I need to figure out if this is going to work.
Kaufman says, why do you think anarchism is losing the propaganda war against Marxism-Leninism and democratic socialism?
All right, okay. So, November 8th, Publishing House. Here we go. This is a Hojaist, a resource which has like pretty much everything that Hoja's ever written. Oh, they're based in Ontario, Canada as well. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the stream. So, now to the actual video, the content of I wanted to analyze today. I hope this is not going to take 3 hours like it did when I was with the homie Parker for the Bad Mouse video, but this is a 12-minute video rather than a 30-minute one. And it's a like stream clip, so it's not like an actual like well thought out argument. It's just someone rambling. And I do like the cat tree in his background. I do want this for my cat. Very peak. But also, this guy's reading books about anarchism, and I do think I'm gonna get them just to critique them out of spite. Yeah, I don't know what's the deal with like Marxist internet archives. Okay, I need to stop rambling and get into the content of the video. So, before we get into this, yes, Mao was a metaphysician revisionist. There you go. Are you happy? So, obviously, I will make a short little intro before starting the video because we have to get the clip right for the second channel. Oh my god, I'm operating in such a YouTuber mindset, and it's incredible. I'm bourgeois scum. I need to get rid of Charlitics. And before this, I also want to announce something I want to work on. Where is it? Where's it? Oh my god, stupid. There's this Iris person who wanted to come on stream in the future to talk about this Oompaville guy who made like a video on the terrifying history of communism, and it's just abhorrent. Like, it's how long is this? 55 minutes of anti-communist slop, so it's always awesome. So without any further ado, let's get into this Anark video reacting. I can't speak. Let's get it. So I can't take this guy seriously. Oh my god. So let's watch this Marxism-Leninism doesn't work, they are lying to you video by Anark. Here it is. It is 12 minutes long. It has 8,000 views as we speak. And one thing that is already abhorrent is that this guy's using a USB-C connection to his microphone rather than an XLR connection. You may want to fix this, sir, because there are audiophiles crying. This is not a serious critique. Anyway, let's watch this.
Arthur Kaufman says, why do you think anarchism is losing the propaganda war against Marxism-Leninism and democratic socialism? Because they are closer to society as it stands. I think that's a big...
I'm interested to see where this leads. I want to interrupt every 9 seconds, but
big part of it. So last time I was asked this question that became like a reel and everything. It's what I mentioned earlier, what I call hierarchical realism. I said that it's because of hierarchical realism, because people think that hierarchy is eternal, that it is the default state of all social structures and so on. And that's certainly part of it. But also Marxism-Leninism is basically just social democracy, to be honest.
What? On this last part, I recommend everyone reads the text where Stalin says that social democracy is the moderate wing of fascism. So there's a very important point here that Marxism-Leninism is closer to society in reality. And I'm glad he does admit that we are closer to material reality, because we analyze that there are material conditions to be taken into account when talking about society, organizing, socialism, and the construction of a better society. This is the worst thing that I've fucking listened to in my entire week, and we're 33 seconds in. They say that we believe in hierarchical realism, and it's, first of all, you don't have to invent words to describe like a given thought current. We are not hierarchical realists. We are dialectical materialists. There you go. So our belief is not that hierarchies, as in like state power, is eternal, right? The core point of Lenin's State and Revolution, one of the core points was that once the capitalist world order falls apart, once there is no external pressure to destroy socialism, once the contradictions of class society are abolished, aka when there are no capitalists, no private property, and when the conditions are ripe, not just when they're ripe, but when the political state does not serve any purpose because there is no fight for political power, then the state becomes obsolete and withers away because people don't see the need for this political state. And now you have a self-acting proletariat without a struggle against capitalism, against reaction, against the bourgeois. And this doesn't mean that there are no hierarchies. I don't get what the focus on hierarchy is, because hierarchy itself is not like a I'm not going to say it's not a bad thing, because this is a moralist assertion. This guy is making a moralist assertion about hierarchy being bad. But like, there are absolutely times when hierarchies are necessary. When talking about a hierarchy of knowledge, something that most anarchists agree on. And this is not power, this is not authoritarianism, this is just like reality. I'm sorry, but I struggle to see what the point is regarding hierarchical realism, when the reality is that we do want to see this state power ultimately diminished and abolished in favor of only an administrative state that coordinates large-scale production and sorry, I'm gonna clarify this. The point of large-scale production being planned is to achieve a surplus, right? When we have a bigger surplus than the population, when we achieved like a post-scarcity society, this is when it's ripe to do away with the political state. But you can't abolish everything overnight. You can't resist capitalism, imperialism without a state, an army, or when dealing with sanctions. I really struggle to like start at a given point, because there's just so many like charged ideology here. This is pure idealism. There's no materialist analysis. This guy is trying to argue against Marxism-Leninism without knowing what Marxism-Leninism is. Jesus. Just because you slap effectively, like you say, like Lutivus, when someone slaps a fancy label on a phenomenon, and they think they've achieved a like academic levels of analysis, but really they're just, I'm sorry, they're just yapping. They're just bullshitting. There's no actual concrete analysis here. This is not profound. It's worse than listening to Jordan Peterson. Because at least Jordan Peterson has a societal project or whatever. No, he does not. He definitely does not. But his is on the same level of idealism. And regarding social democracy, I'm sorry, but what the fuck are you talking about? I can see the comparison between like this quote unquote Marxism-Leninism being social democracy when you talk specifically about Dungism and the current state of China, which operates as a capitalist state. Why? Not because of Marxism-Leninism. No, they abandoned all principles of Marxism-Leninism, except nominally. They went through with a capitalist restoration even before the death of Mao. So they produce commodities. Sorry, they are in the imperialist era of capitalism. They export finance capital abroad. They produce commodities. I've said this already. For sale on markets. They have billionaires. What else is there to be said? Anyway, but to say that the very people who argue against social democracy or social democrats is pure fucking nonsense. I'm sorry, but you have no idea what you're talking about here. Social democracy was the first tendency that many communists identified with at the beginning, before the advent of Marxism-Leninism. And eventually, social democracy became the label for the Mensheviks and reformists, people who wanted to reform the system and to keep the Constitutive Assembly, or whatever the fuck the name was, in the USSR, not the USSR, sorry, the states following the 1917 February Revolution. Constitutive Assembly, right? Anyway. So, the Bolsheviks, the revolutionary Marxist-Leninists, or Marxist in that time, Marxism-Leninism as the term was more so used by Stalin, and then Mao and Hoxha and many anti-revisionists and even revisionists. We always have to fight with this current, but like, social democracy is reformed capitalism. It is the maintaining of a capitalist system with social programs, with the claim that you are trying to achieve socialism through democratic means. Same thing with democratic socialism, but in reality, you're not achieving shit, because you cannot go on with the destruction of the bourgeois state apparatus. You cannot take power away from the bourgeoisie within bourgeois institutions. This doesn't happen. There's a reason Salvador Allende had to kill himself with the gun that Fidel Castro gifted to him, because fucking Augusto Pinochet and his clique of American-backed CIA ghouls were storming the fucking capital of Chile to stage a coup. So, yeah. Brazil too. So, yeah. This is incredible. I don't know how someone can pretend to be an academic and write whole books about the topic, but not understand a single word of it. Oh my god.
Honest. It's an insurrection to put social democracy in place, which, yeah, social democracy sounds super cool, but like, how many people in a first world capitalist nation are going to do a revolution to put social democracy in place? Not many, but enough that there is a constituency of them that divert people's energies into wasteful, dead-end vanguards that will never achieve anything.
Jarvis, what the fuck are you talking about? They're not trying to achieve social democracy. People don't want to do revolution for social democracy. People do revolutions because their material conditions are fucking dire, because they are going to starve, because the capitalists are exploiting them. People do revolutions. No. Oh my god. Fuck. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Red Jarvis. But sorry, I'm struggling to even like know where to begin with this argument. I'm gonna have to rewatch this. Actually, no, I don't want to put you guys through this. No, but his name is Daniel. Jarvis is like this. It's Tony Stark meme or whatever, but this guy has to read Black Shirts and Reds by Parenti, right? Like, you cannot assert that socialism or vanguard doesn't achieve anything. Let's look at the actual facts. Fidel Castro and Che Guevara led a communist revolution in Cuba to kick out the imperialists, massively improved the literacy rates, lifted millions of people out of poverty, went on with full vaccination campaigns, home ownership rates is through the roof, people have free healthcare. Obviously degenerated because of an American blockade, leaving Cuba to effectively starve without any allies. What were the achievements of socialism in Burkina Faso? Huh? Vaccination? Literacy rates? What were the achievements of socialism in the USSR? Does this guy not think that the socialist experiment in the USSR was better than the feudal system they had before? That they industrialized a country of hundreds of millions of people within 20 years to defeat the fucking Nazis in World War II. There were incredible advancements in performance arts, education, in vaccinations, literacy rates, healthcare, medicine, scientific advances, discoveries. They went on the fucking moon. You're saying they didn't achieve anything. Oh my fucking god. But, sorry. Like, there were incredible pressures on these experiments too as well. In the case of the USSR, they had to deal with imperialist, reactionaries, fascists trying to take back the state power and destroy their experiments the whole fucking time, from 1917 to 1991, when the USSR was dissolved against a referendum by Boris Yeltsin and his Think of Capital's goals, even though it was in the works since Khrushchev. But, like, yeah, they think that a state is inherently imperialist or whatever the fuck, or that a state is bad. And their argument against the state is moralist. It's a moralist critique. Like, Jesus. There's a reason that, like, the socialist experiments that achieve things were Marxist-Leninists, because they have a plan to actually organize production and get shit done. What has anarchism achieved? Really? Don't get started on the Zapatistas, because these guys outspokenly said to American anarchists, we're not anarchists. Please don't put your Western ideology on us. They're just self-acting, and like they don't have the Marxist-Leninist framework, but I'm not gonna shit on them needlessly because I'm a fucking reactionary. But like, there's a reason they've been struggling for 30 years to actually control part of the territory without any resources, and that the youth are leaving the commune because they're in a sort of stalemate with the state. Magno was a bandit. These guys were fucking stealing shit from the the peasants. They were burning down people's houses. They didn't have like an actual strategy. Like, it was very disorganized. It wasn't like an anarchist commune. These guys were like contrarians. They didn't have the support of the broad masses. And there's also like the Spanish Civil War, where anarchists will try to claim it as their experiments and try to shit on the USSR for opposing them, but the USSR did send weapons shipments to the revolutionaries. We had a ton of Marxist-Leninists participate in this, and like they're trying to say that it was an anarchist, self-acting organization without a state, while they had a group of revolutionaries who had like the exclusive right to carry weapons, aka a special body of armed men, or effectively like a revolutionary police force. They had labor camps that they unfortunately called concentration camps, but they knew that it was necessary to have something to suppress reactionaries and fascists. You don't just deal nicely with them. So there's just so much things to analyze here. It's actually ridiculous. We're gonna continue with the video because it's already 46 minutes in and we're 50 seconds into the video. Oh my god. It's just hard to not speak upon it.
As far as like social democracy or democratic socialism, I think that one is mostly, it is just the social democratic impulse, but without the insurrectionary vibe, right? So like when you're in a capitalist nation, social democracy appears as a rational improvement upon your circumstances. And so you kind of got two options about how you're going to get it. You're either going to get it through insurrection and building a vanguard that's going to try to overturn everything, or you're going to get it through electoralism. You do.
No, social democracy is an electoralist framework. There's also the point that this guy is talking in terms of like personal ideologies, and like personal actions to want to establish things, but social democracy is not a socialist ideology in and of itself. Social democracy is a means to appease the working class under the threat of a communist revolution. It effectively serves the same purpose as fascism, being the protection of the capitalism, of the capitalist wealth accumulation, of the capitalist status quo. Fascism just devolves into actual like state sanctioned incredible violence and a corporatist like command of the capitalist economy by an alliance between the bourgeois and the reactionaries or whatever. While social democracy effectively operates to mediate class antagonisms by providing social services, by alleviating the contradiction of the bourgeoisie and the proletariat in the global north, while profiting, and we've seen this with like Norway, profiting from the backbreaking work of people abroad. Like while you have like Swedes and Norwegian people enjoying like their social benefits from social democracy, know that it is actively being dismantled because, of course, conservatives get elected back into power because it's a bourgeois system and austerity is a like phenomenon of capitalism. But they have investments in a sovereign wealth fund, which notably invests in Coca-Cola that steals water from Uttar Pradesh in India, mining companies in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh that have atrocious working conditions. Like, social democracy and Marxism-Leninism have nothing to do with each other. They are opposites. Like, there's no, like, revolutionary road to social democracy because it, in and of itself, is a parliamentary road. Generally, what the fuck is Daniel talking about? I'm flabbergasted.
Parliamentary tactics, right? So it's natural when people haven't been fully radicalized, that they don't have like a really social revolutionary perspective, that they're first going to make a stop at like Marxist-Leninism and democratic socialism.
Does this guy live in the same reality as we do? People don't. They what? Sorry, I'm legitimately bugging. yes, first of all, the Marxist-Leninism thing, it's not Marxist-Leninism. It's not Leninism within the Marxist framework. It is Marxism with contributions from Lenin. Marxism applied to the era of imperialist capitalism. It is a question of strategy of dialectical materialism applied to an era where capitalism is imperialist. This guy says that it's the same thing as democratic socialism, which is a liberal ideology of wanting to achieve social policies through reform without actually going through with a revolution. Like he makes this video called Marxism-Leninism doesn't work, they are lying to you, but he is right here being incredibly disingenuous, does not portray Marxism-Leninism correctly, and equivocates it to social democracy. So I think this is like it's abhorrent that he's doing this and saying that we are the ones lying. It's, oh my god. I'm bugging. I'm bugging. How do you hit record, watch everything back, and say, yeah, this is something that I'm going to post on my YouTube channel? Does this guy not have any fucking knowledge about history of the Soviet Union, history about Marxism, history of his own fucking movement of anarchism? Does this guy not understand anything about how the world fucking operates? I'm sorry, I'm angry. I'm gonna have to write down an actual critique of this video because there's no way it's gonna be taken seriously if I'm actually fucking mauling over this. Oh my god.
Those are definitely rational first stops because they're really similar to capitalism. Quote unquote, Marxism-Leninism really just puts in place what I would call state capitalism, which often just devolves into regular capitalism and at best turns into social democracy.
Oh my fucking god, dude. I don't know what he's referring to here. Is he talking about the NEP? Is he talking about commodity production under Stalin because they had to trade with the rest of the world? Is he talking about the Khrushchevite revisionism that restored capitalism in the USSR? Is he talking about like the post-Mao fucking capitalist restoration in China? Socialism as state ownership of the means of production and control through councils is not the same thing as capitalism. I'm sorry, but words have meaning. You can't just make shit up and throw shit at the wall and hope it sticks. This is blatantly lying. Like there's a very like a telling passage from Engels. So, therefore, either one of two things. Either the anti-authoritarians don't know what they're talking about, in which case they are creating nothing but confusion, or they do know, in that case they are betraying the movement of the proletariat. In either case, they serve the reaction. This mode of thinking serves the reaction because it brings away people from a revolutionary socialist framework. I don't know if this guy is being disingenuous and lying to serve whatever cause, because he's not advocating for actual action, or if he's genuinely just, I don't want to be rude, but a fucking moron. I don't know what else is there to be said. I'm sorry for being so foul-mouthed today. I just feel like this is incredibly arrogant. I think it, I don't like quoting Mao, but like, no investigation, no right to speak. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't open your mouth to talk upon it. Educate yourself, and don't be at the top of the Dunning-Kruger curve, right? Anyway, but yeah, he's an anarchist YouTuber. Of course, his whole thing is making things that people are gonna agree with. They are more interested in having an opinion on everything and being right and morally righteous instead of actually serving the cause of the proletariat. I'm gonna get myself a glass of water. I'll be back in like 20 seconds. Tops. Oh. Wassalam alaikum salam. And before everyone notes, these pop figurines are not mine. They are my girlfriend's. I have Che Guevara flag and plants on my shelf, so I'm not participating in this. My whole schlick is Rubik's cubes instead, which I have way too many of. But it's okay because they're produced in the People's Republic of China, right? Totally a socialist country. So, let's continue watching this slop.
But they have no examples of socialism. They've never achieved worker ownership of the means of production.
This is blatantly lying. This is fucking straight up lying.
They've never achieved decommodification. They've never achieved the abolition of the wage relation. They have no successes as far as actual revolutionary change out of capital.
Do you? I'm sorry, but do you? This is so hypocritical. But like the main point that these people don't understand, and something that was reiterated again and again and again, in which even people like Trotsky agree with, you don't achieve the higher stage of communism when there are imperialist superpowers like the United States of America or revisionist capitalist China or Russia or the imperialist West that are actively working against communism. It's not something that's achieved overnight. And if you do think that you can achieve the higher stage of communism without a state, without an active army of the armed proletariat to defend the revolution against the capitalist imperialist aggression, then I'm sorry, but you're either terribly naive or you advocate for something which is wrong. Like these countries have to operate in a capitalist world, and it's simply a materialist. It's idealist. It's living in an alternate reality at this point. Like there's obviously a reason why these past socialist experiments devolved into like revisionism. They operated in a capitalist world order. They had opportunist leaders take rise in the councils, and there were people who were like actually disillusioned because they saw this socialist experiment as like a marmot or a failure, but like it's yeah, it's an international project. You have to do away with the imperial core as a capitalist fucking thing before you can talk about abolishing the state itself. Otherwise, you're just making a moral assertion, and it's not even based on historical materialism. Anyway, continuing.
capitalism goes. All they've ever done is develop capitalism. That's the only example of their praxis. However, that might look pretty good to you if you're living under this form of capitalism. Like social democracy looks pretty sweet when you live under what we've got, right?
Have you ever in your life talked to someone from the global south? Have you talked from someone, sorry, have you talked to someone from India, from the Philippines, from Bangladesh, from South America? Have you ever talked to an African person in your fucking life? Marxism-Leninism is the libertarian framework which these socialist movements, anti-imperialist, anti-colonial movements, have based their analysis and their organization on. This is what the Black Panthers were organized on the lines of. To argue that all we've ever done is reproduce capitalism is actually lying. Continuing, I'm not going to get through this if I keep interrupting.
So that makes it appealing. That's number one. Number two, the Marxist-Leninists have done an excellent job of presenting themselves as the pragmatists in the room. They're the pure utilitarians. Like,
I'm sorry, this is exactly what the anarchists are doing. The whole schlick of the Bandmass video last time was pragmatism. But when regarding like socialist experiments and like under construction, of course you have to be pragmatic sometimes to resist imperialism and live through sanctions which isolate you from the rest of the world. How does he think this is a sound argument?
You need to just accept that our vanguard rule is good and is going to...
Who do you think constitutes the Vanguard Party, right? There were hundreds of thousands of members in the Bolshevik Party in Russia. In the USSR, sorry, across the republics. Like a Vanguard Party is not like some 5 subversive individuals that are controlling everything top down. No. The Vanguard Party constitutes like the Politburo that gives a line that is agreed upon by the councils. It's not this authoritarian slob that this guy is saying it is. Even if it was, could you really blame this? Under incredible capitalist sanctions that isolate them from the rest of the world and are trying to like make the economy scream, as the Americans say. The dirty fucking Yankees. Please tell me this guy's not American at least. Maybe there's some redemption. Location United States. Oh fuck, of course. Ah. I want Bad Empanada to react to this.
to bring about good things, and then, oh, you'll get out of your naive, childish beliefs. But...
And again, this is the most straw-man-y, like, goofiest thing I've seen all week. Like, this is arguably worse than in the China episode of the deprogram when Hakim kept taking like the funny voice to talk about communist terms and talk shit about like Maoists and like other people who opposed like the capitalist restoration in China. Like, you don't just portray your opponents as childish. It's and I do think that it's something that like Marxists have to do, like actually work on, is to not just I mean, it's incredibly hard not to portray these people as childish when this is the content they're making, but we actually have arguments to argue for certain positions and not just have like vague moral denunciations and like ad hominems against our opponents. Anyway, yeah, context is incredibly hard for these people, and I find it hard to watch. Oh my god. And so this is something that the USSR got right? Anyone could have access to an education and could have access to means to analyze works and to have media literacy. And this is something that clearly Anark never got, this education to have like media literacy. Or he does, and he's being very disingenuous and lying. These are the only two options here.
That's delusional and false. Like, it's just not backed up by historical evidence. In fact, I was arguing with somebody on Twitter the other day. They were talking about the success of all of the authoritarian leftist methods.
It really helps with your own credibility when you portray your opponent automatically as authoritarian leftists without defining what it is, and portraying your opponent as bad without argument, just because you think authoritarianism as a moral thing is like denunciable, but like, what are you talking about here? Genuinely. Oh, fuck. This is a hard watch.
I went and looked it up. I found a fucking list on Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wikipedia, of course.
Of all of their self-claimed quote-unquote socialist projects and all their quote-unquote self-claimed communist projects. And I researched them, and I literally went and I counted it up. I counted it up and did the statistics. They have failed 196 of 200 times.
Sorry. Did this guy say he researched this on Wikipedia? He has 2 sources on his fucking thing right here. Wikipedia, list of communist states, list of non-communist states, and this guy's not gonna put them as actual sources because Wikipedia is not a source. It's a database of sources. But like, we're gonna do the exercise ourselves. We're gonna look at list of non-communist socialist states. List of communist states. What is it? First of all, he is removing the context of these countries operating in a capitalist world, being subject to sanctions, to bombings from fucking NATO and the imperialists. Like, if you look at the actual list of like list of communist states, this is like very like stupid Wikipedia slop. Like right here. Okay. Yeah, starting with Albania. Yeah, Albania was a socialist country led by Enver Hoxha that was subject to imperialist aggression from the whole fucking world. China is incredibly revisionist. They're not communist at all. Cuba is fucking starving from US blockades. And they have been forced. I don't know if I can like say they've been forced. I don't know what the reality is there. I mean, I do. But like, what would I do as the president of Cuba? I don't think I'd go on with market reforms, but what the fuck are they supposed to do when they're blockaded from anything? East Germany, the GDR had incredible advances, and something that people don't understand, right? A lot of anti-communists point to like East Germany as like an example of like authoritarian and the Berlin Wall, and oh, it was so bad, and they had to keep people out. Let's look at a map because I love maps. Oh man, I love when I find a map and it's not on the fucking thing. Okay, look at this. Something that people often like don't realize is that West Berlin, was an enclave within East Germany, which was the part surrounded by the wall. West Berlin was an imperialist base for France, for the West Germans, for the Americans. Like, they were constantly trying to send spies and to destabilize East Germany and their socialist project. Like, these states that this guy is talking about is a question of trying to build socialism in a capitalist world. And like, this guy's just doing some actual brain dead, like trying to frame himself as like a scientist by using statistics, but like you don't like calculate or quantify success or failure rates. Like, this is incredibly unscientific. In social science, you don't consider things failed states when they get overthrown. Like, they have had successes, incredible successes in advancing the quality of life of the proletariat. What failed states have been, like what an actual failure of a state, is when the state itself is fucking marred and everything else is taken over by these like gangs and militias, like in Libya when Gaddafi was overthrown. But like, I'm sorry, I failed to see the pertinence of this point. We're just gonna keep going.
Y'all, it is a vastly failed ideology, ludicrously failed ideology. It does not have a claim to practicality. It doesn't work. It usually gets destroyed. But
by who? It gets destroyed. Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder why. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with the Marxist-Leninist framework, and everything to do with the fact that these countries are in fucking dire conditions to begin with, right? Like, they have started. I'm very sorry. I don't want to bash this microphone. Like, socialist countries have started in extremely dire conditions with like historically low industrialization. And he says it's get destroyed, right? Absolutely. Unlike anarchism, when has anarchism established itself as a successful, long-lasting thing? These people have no principle, and they're not serious about actually bringing on change. Anyway, I'm gonna try to watch an entire minute without interrupting.
they've done a really good job of deluding everybody into believing that it works super, super well because they point to like 3 examples.
So do you? Anarchists always point to Makhnovia, to the Zapatistas, even though they're not like anarchists, and they point to the RSF, not the RSFs, the Syrian Democratic Forces in Kurdistan when they effectively have a state. They point to the Spanish Civil War. This is actual fucking slop.
Okay, they tried it like 200 times and they failed 196 times.
Is this guy the fucking CIA? Or does he think the CIA doesn't exist?
And they're convincing you that because 5 times they survived, that means they're the practical ones. Oh, they've got it all figured out because they rolled the dice and 95% of the time failed. And that is just pure propaganda. There's just tons of examples that they can point to, but the vast majority of them got destroyed either by imperialism.
Yes, exactly. What even is the point here? So you do acknowledge that they got destroyed by imperialism. What about your your anarchist experiments? Fuck.
Capitalist pressure or internal degradation due to hierarchy producing more and more capitalist incentives in turn.
No, for fuck's sake. The reason it devolved into capitalism is because they were still struggling in the socialist phase against the capitalist class. They suppressed capital, but there were still capitalist elements. There were still foreign trade with capitalist countries. There are still very much like pressures, internal and external, to destroy the system from within. And the fact that you acknowledge this but still use it as an argument against Marxism-Leninism is actually fucking disingenuous and ridiculous. When... Ugh. This really is awful. And he's talking about like the reproduction of authority, but what is this authority? What is the relation of this authority to the means of production? Like, the authority itself is in the hands of councils made up of workers or party members. I'm sorry for making you guys sit through this.
Or degradation due to ethnic and civil strife. Those systems aren't more stable. They are absolutely lying to people. And it's on us for not calling them the fuck out. People haven't gone and tried to figure out the facts. People haven't studied the history of their projects.
And you have? No, you haven't.
So somehow this fucking movement that is 95% failure rate, even though it's had more attempts than any other method by far, somehow has presented itself as being more practical, more utilitarian, more effective.
Yeah, I fucking wonder why, because it's the way to achieve liberation, to seize power of like semi-colonies and colonies in the face of imperialist aggression. And like, it's simply my god, I was almost gonna say heretical, like this is worse than listening to Vosh, low-key.
Utterly false, and we have allowed them to get away with this lie.
And again, this guy says it's utterly false, but he doesn't explain why. This is the same thing that like RCP Trotskyists go on about, like Marxism-Leninism and what they call Stalinism and bureaucratism. They say it's false. They say it's un-Marxist. They say it's untrue. But they never actually substantiate why. They just operate on moralist principles and idealism. There's no actual analysis here. Like, I struggle to see what his point is. What is the point of making such a video? What is his audience? What is his goal? Clearly, he's a white American liberal with the means to publish his own books and produce these high-quality videos with his gear and whatever, but... Oh, well... My god, this guy works for means.tv as well. With, like, Patreon, Cash App, all this shit. Making thousands of dollars a month from these videos. And, of course, there's no way these videos are demonetized because they serve the status quo. They're not actually... He's arguing against communism, so, of course, he's gonna make bank from these videos. So he's benefiting from critiquing socialism and Marxism-Leninism endlessly. But yeah, I forgot the point I was going on about. But like, this guy doesn't try to make any actual arguments.
And don't get me wrong, maybe all of them aren't lying. Maybe they're just, unfortunately, on accident kind of deceiving people.
That's what you are doing.
But the fact of the matter is that there is no factuality to Marxism-Leninism being an effective utilitarian praxis.
Why are you going on about like this idealist idea of utilitarianism? Why are you claiming that it's false? All this guy does is repeat on and on that it's false and it doesn't work without actually saying why, without giving actual examples. It's vague. It's a bunch of vague truisms. How does anyone listen to this and think it's principled?
It is, in fact, a deeply failed praxis that has had way, way more attempts than everything else. And because it has had so many attempts, it appears as if it is very effective. So
I'm still waiting for a point here.
So this is the same thing with cooperatives. I get into arguments between people who are like capitalists, and I talk to them about workers' cooperatives. Okay, so what they say is like, well, if workers' cooperatives are so damn good, why don't they compete in the market? Why isn't everything workers' cooperatives? Well, at one point I wasn't really sure as to, like how to answer that, you might say. I wasn't sure how to approach that question. Well, I went and I did research. And a woman named Virginia Periton published an academic article where she compared the failure rates of cooperatives, workers' cooperatives, versus corporations, like traditional corporations. And what she found was workers' cooperatives actually had a higher productivity than typical corporations.
True.
And so you might be saying, well, then why are people presenting cooperatives like there's some weird niche solution? Because for every one cooperative, this is not an exact number right here, by the way, but like for every one cooperative, there's like 100 corporations that get started. So then it looks like workers' cooperatives don't work. No, workers' cooperatives work perfectly fine. There's just less of them being created. There's a lower birth rate.
Hold on. So this guy is arguing for worker cooperatives within capitalism and saying that we are the ones trying to recreate capitalism. It's fucking beyond me. But this is the exact same thing that like Richard Wolff is arguing. Of course, I do think that under capitalism, worker cooperatives are preferable to like corporations because they actually like benefit the workers. But the social goal is still to operate on a profit motive for the cooperative to bring profits in the pockets of the workers while competing in a capitalist framework. But so you don't challenge capitalism by building co-ops. You still operate in the same framework, and cooperatives have the same problems of exploitation and export of finance capital in the global south. Yeah, it's co-ops are capitalism. And what he's doing right here is trying to compare like the failure rate of Marxism-Leninism and cooperatives. But there's no logical coherence here because he's saying that co-ops are appear to be working because there's many attempts. Sorry, other way around. Yeah, but I mean, of course, but what's the point of bringing up the case of like arguing for worker co-ops against capitalists when you're talking about Marxism-Leninism? Ah.
And I argue that's the exact same thing when it comes to horizontal revolution. There's just a...
What do you mean by horizontal revolution? Because the Bolshevik Revolution sure was like everyone hand in hand, but voting on things and listening to people who had like a more advanced theory in the sense that they were more in touch with what had to be done. Like, does he not realize that the Bolsheviks had to take a series of correct decision after correct decision to get to a point where they could take on the system? Like, they had to wait until the conditions were perfectly ripe. Have these gentlemen seen a revolution? Yes. How do you see this as a horizontal? It's the same kind of argument where people talk about like the masses, the people, instead of the proletariat, the workers, the working class. They see petit bourgeois people, they see the bourgeois, they see like the people benefiting from the system, people with businesses, small business owners, as having revolutionary potentials and not being a threat to the revolution, right? This guy wants horizontal revolution, but he doesn't understand how a vanguard party operates. He has not studied it.
Lower birth rate of horizontal revolutions. They work better. They make faster progress towards socialism. There are examples, by contrast to what I said earlier, there are examples of horizontal revolutions getting abolition of wage labor. That did happen from time to time. For example, in the countryside in the Spanish Civil War.
His example is people producing for need in the Spanish Civil War. You don't argue for the stability. Fuck, this was unstable. This wasn't a stable thing. It was a revolution against the fascists. What is the point? What is the point of this?
We do have examples of decommodification. Once again, the Spanish countrysides in the Spanish Civil War, but also in the Zapatistas, they've decommodified the land.
These guys, they don't want to be associated with your fucking anarchism, bro. They are in a struggle against the Mexican state for power, and like it's not Marxism-Leninism, it's not anarchism. It is Zapatismo is fundamentally like a grassroots, like indigenous rights movement, and they don't have like this same anarchist framework. What these guys want is their fucking land back. What these guys want is to establish a free society beyond this fucking Mexican capitalist state. But one thing's for sure, like in Zapatismo, there's a lot of like social democratic elements, right? It's not anarchism. They still do operate as a state. And there's a reason why the Zapatistas are currently like not feeling, but it's becoming moribund. Anyway. Yeah. Bruh. It's straight up historical illiteracy. It's just making shit up and throwing it at the wall and then hoping it sticks again.
For example, worker ownership of the means production is the norm in horizontal revolutionary projects. And that should, one would think, be excellent evidence that the horizontal revolutionary method is a superior revolutionary method. But unfortunately, because Marxism-Leninism tried 100 times as many times, their like tiny handful of survivals appears as if it's evidence for their success. So that's the answer to your question, in my opinion.
So he doesn't actually make a point. There's no actual point to this whole video. It's just a big segment about worker co-ops, a segment about how he's making shit up regarding statistics and Wikipedia slop. There's no argument here. There's no line. If I had to take away a point from his video, is that he thinks that Marxism-Leninism is capitalism and reproduces hierarchy. Straight up fucking nonsense, bro. Oh my god. Please read a book before writing one, or four, for that matter.
Zahiril Adzim says, how many anarchist countries are there in the world right now? Let's hear it.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is you are trying to compare what an anarchist considers success with what an authoritarian considers success.
And he doesn't even define success, right? Oh my god. He says that these states fail and are failures because they don't hold on to power and they don't hold on to socialism and they get destroyed. So let's see what this guy has to say about anarchist experiments.
What an authoritarian leftist considers a success is creating a capitalist state.
What the fuck are you on about, bro? Oh my fucking god. I'm sorry. No, what we consider successful is fighting back against colonialism, against imperialism, destroying the bourgeois state apparatus and replacing it with a socialist transitional state, working towards communism, to spread the revolution, to advance the material conditions of the people. What are you talking about, a capitalist state? Oh my god.
Okay, so obviously if you want to create a capitalist state, there's tons of examples of creating a capitalist state. Authoritarian leftism is super good at that. Super good at creating capitalism and painting it red.
Again, he says these vague, very assertive statements, but he doesn't back this up with any source or any arguments. This is not an argument. This is just, again, throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. You're not making an argument. You're just bashing Marxist-Leninists without substance.
But what anarchists, or horizontalists, I guess you would say, believe is a success is when the people are empowered. So we have different metrics. I actually want revolution. Authoritarian leftists just want red capitalism. So
What?
obviously, if all you want is red capitalism, that's a lot easier. I don't know why you're calling yourself a revolutionary. I don't know why you claim to care about socialism or communism if that's the case. But that's all you've got to your name, capitalism.
And you're advocating for worker cooperatives. This guy is arrogant, idealist, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's making these smug, assertive statements as if they are facts. But you cannot just say shit that is false, but because you said it with a serious tone, have it be true. What is this, man? Like, no, no, communists do not want capitalism. I don't know what you're pulling this out from. This, oh my god. Not even like conservatives have this conception of communism. Not even liberals, not even most anarchists have this conception of Marxism-Leninism, right? Like fucking libertarian socialist rants and Bad Mouse have like better understanding of Marxism-Leninism, even though Bad Mouse doesn't fucking understand it, but at least you know who Enver Hoxha is, so I give him that. But oh my god, again, it's hard to like take the time to refute and to offer an argument against what he's saying, because he's not making an argument. He's just saying something which is false. Actually, Sharky, he is saying that Marxist-Leninists want capitalism and have capitalism to show for it, and are not revolutionaries. And that he himself, for wanting worker co-ops and abolition of the state overnight, is a true revolutionary. Bro. Not even Bakunin was this fucking moronic.
You have made zero progress towards the revolutionary goal.
There was extensive progress towards this goal, notably defeating the Nazis during World War II, notably massively advancing in terms of like women's rights, in terms of healthcare, education, and like food security. All things that like are like very core indicators of like a social success. This guy's definition of social success is the people are in power. Yeah, so that's the case of socialist countries. Like, who do you think makes up the party? It's the people, the proletariat, the workers. But you define the people as anyone, including the petit bourgeois. But like, this guy's definition of success is if they reproduce hierarchy or not. He doesn't define what hierarchy is, and he doesn't take into account actual like determinants of like progress. What do you think like the worker in like fucking India who has silicosis from working for $3 a day without protection from their boss, and who lost their son to a silicosis too, and now has to take on a loan from their boss for like $5,000, earning $3 a day, having to pay it back? What do you think this person wants? Do they want this horizontal I'm sorry, I'm taking the Hakeem funny voice. This horizontal organization, or the people in power, or these vague things, without defining what it actually is, without showing us how it's done? No, this person just wants to be fucking freed from this actual fucking dog shit condition. For the vast majority of people, like the need is to improve their own conditions, and this is done through doing away with capitalism. And you can't do this by simply either abolishing the state overnight. How do you do this? Radio silence, or through like worker cooperatives. If anything, this is incredibly fucking racist, white supremacist, first worldist, and neglects the global south. So that's that. Anark, you are racist. Maybe I'm digging a bit too far. It's just reactionary. It serves the reaction, really.
The workers are not empowered. The workers are domineered by state apparatus, and over time, corporations as well.
My god, what the fuck are you talking about? Is this guy referring to China? Because China, of course, yes, is a revisionist capitalist country, but this has nothing to do with Marxism-Leninism. This is sloganeering. Like, hold on, let me listen to this back because I got distracted.
The workers are not empowered. The workers are domineered by state apparatus.
See, this is something that anarchists do a lot. Like they talk about like the state or the bureaucracy dominating the workers, but does he not realize that the state is not like a neutral entity? The state is a representation of the class in power. The state is a tool of class domination. In the case of capitalism, the state is a partial entity, an entity controlled by the bourgeoisie, which interacts with the base and the superstructure, right? The state is there to regulate the excesses of capitalism to make sure that the people don't fucking revolt, while at the same time enforcing private property rights. And under socialism, the state is a tool of proletarian rule over the bourgeoisie. It's a constant class struggle. You don't abolish these antagonisms overnight. This is not a scientific approach. This is idealism. And to think that the state, the socialist state, is an impartial entity that just oppresses people, that is alienated from the class struggle, is insane. It's actually insane to think this.
And over time, corporations as well. Scotty Too Hottie says, no anarchist society has ever increased its size to encompass an entire country. It's never happened.
This is true.
Marxist-Leninism, on the other hand, here's the thing. What do you mean by a country? A country is not a size. There are countries that are tiny. You know what the population of Luxembourg is? Let's see, with the population of Luxembourg, let's go take a look what the population of Luxembourg is.
Oh yeah, bro. Luxembourg. Very pertinent to the argument.
What is that? 680,000 to 690,000? That's smaller than Rojava. That's smaller than in the...
Of course, the anarchist wants to bring Rojava, but they do have a state. A state. They have a council, they have a self-acting army, and they are defending their project against the capitalists. But like, it's such a complicated thing. Like, you can't just claim they're anarchists but not expand on it. They don't really have control over all this territory. They really did go down in size recently, and most of it has like capitalist relations. Like, they nominally control this, like de jure control this area, but de facto they don't have like this organization of labor in the entirety of Rojava. Like, this is straight up misportraying what Rojava is. This is a good real left episode on Rojava and the question of the Kurdistan. But yeah, I don't think it's fair to say that like they are funded by the US and Israel. But I'm not an expert on Kurdish people, right? They're caught up in between so many fucking different fucked up situations, but yeah, I don't know how fair it is to say that they are funded by them when that's the only help they've been given or whatever. But anyway, fuck Israel, fuck the USA, and screw anyone who attempts to distort Marxism.
Spanish Civil War. So is that a country?
I mean, yes, that was effectively a state. This guy's arguing semantics and thinking that because you change the name of things, you change the things themselves. Engels talked about this. Lenin talked about this. Marx talked about this. But again, during the Spanish Civil War, this was effectively a state. A group of people with a monopoly on violence to enforce the dictatorship of the proletariat. There you go. They had concentration camps that were effectively labor camps for the fascists. Like, oh my fucking god, bro.
That the size of a country or not? If we have millions of people and a region as well larger than Luxembourg, have we not expanded to the size of a country?
Well, no, because Rojava has very much so gone down in size. Like, this is something this guy posted like 5 days ago. If we look at like how Rojava has gun, or sorry, Syrian Democratic Forces. Let me just find this exact thing. Like right now, the SDF has gotten a deal with like the Syrian government, which is like an Israeli proxy. The guy was a fucking Al Qaeda bro, Al Qaeda guy. SDF control of Syria. There was a map I saw earlier. I'm sorry. Rojava evolution of territory. We're gonna get this. We're gonna get this. Like if you look at this, let's first start by seeing when this is. 2026 February. This is after the ceasefire agreement. So they have a ceasefire to with the government. So there is Turkish occupation here. You have several pockets of Rojava that are controlled by the Kurds. But this territory has steadily gone down, right? They went from like a very big effective to a very small one. And it's incredibly disingenuous to like portray Rojava as this beacon of socialist, of like anarchist success, when effectively they're not just like anarchists. It's way more complicated than this, and they don't have control over the entire like labor force. There are capitalist relations in this state. Anyway, we have 2 minutes more of this to watch, so let's get on with it. It's already taken me like over an hour and 20 minutes so far for 10 minutes.
Or what you really mean is anarchists didn't create a state. So think about that. Why would anarchists create a state?
I mean, they did. You just gave examples of when anarchists created states. To say otherwise is disingenuous.
We are trying to create power for the people. We're not trying to expand to millions of people and then give power to a bunch of government functionaries.
Who do you... Oh my fucking god. There's no materialist analysis here. There's no argument. This is idealism.
Which is all that Marxism-Leninism does. So what you just said is nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. What anarchists want to do is create regions of horizontality which expand and expand and expand.
What does this mean? You're just making words up and hoping it sticks, but what are you actually achieving? You're not talking about like expanding regions. You are an American making videos about how Marxism-Leninism doesn't work and shitting on what you call authority while doing no meaningful action. Like what Marxist-Leninists are actually doing is organizing within worker councils, within unions, and organizing as a vanguard party to not only propagate class consciousness, because this is the thing. You don't establish zones of horizontality overnight, and you don't control this, especially not in like the United States or Canada or whatever. You spread class consciousness, you work towards a revolution, and yeah, there's it's a class warfare. It is the bourgeois against the workers. And since this guy is a petit bourgeois, he doesn't understand this, and he thinks that anarchism is about horizontality, or, I mean, it may just be, but like, yeah, absolutely, Chuck, you're absolutely right. There's no understanding of how the state is an instrument of class dominance, And he thinks that oppression of the bourgeois, or repression of the bourgeois by the worker state, is as bad as the bourgeois state forcing people to work under shitty conditions. So for them, the state is the state. Doesn't matter who runs it. And this is incredibly flawed, and it is counter-revolutionary, and it is idealist. It has zero class analysis.
And sometimes those regions do reach the size of entire nations.
No, they don't.
However, what you really mean is that you think anarchists should be creating states for some reason.
Go on, defend the revolution without a state. Oh no, that's right. You don't want a revolution.
But that's nonsensical. Scotty Too Hottie, to be...
And again, how is this nonsensical? You haven't explained how this is nonsensical. You have just made assertions, truisms, and haven't actually engaged with Marxist-Leninist theory. To be perfectly good faith, like, Anark, please, individually, read State and Revolution, read Imperialism and Revolution, sorry. Read Imperialism, the high stage of capitalism. Read Marxist literature, engage with Marxist literature, instead of making shit up about it. You don't know what you're talking about, and you're trying to engage with Marxism. And yeah, the whole thing about like class struggle being replaced by anti-state struggle, the thing is that right after the revolution, after the vanguard party takes power, these people are going to get mad that there's not horizontality enough yet, and they're going to struggle against this socialist state power. So they're going to serve the reaction, they're going to serve the CI interests, and yeah. Yeah, that was a Freudian slip. I wanted to say imperialism, the high stage of capitalism, but I mentioned the Hoja text. A Freudian because I love Enver Hoja.
Precise. Anarchist Catalonia never expanded to encompass Spain entirely. It doesn't have to have a state. Why does it matter if it encompasses Spain entirely? Why is that relevant?
Because you want to take state power and crush it, because the entirety of Spain, the rest of Spain, is going to actively work to reclaim this territory and destroy the revolution. How the fuck do you not see that? Like, the goal is to abolish class relations as a whole. The goal is to abolish the state, and through abolishing the state, to abolish the state, sorry, you need to abolish capitalism worldwide. Sorry, I need to pray for a bit. And there we go.
If an anarchist movement started in Luxembourg and it took over all of Luxembourg, would that be a bigger success than them taking over a larger region with more people in Spain? Why?
Notice how I'm getting numb from this. Notice how he's arguing with hypotheticals. This is pretty funny.
Why does it matter? Why are you so obsessed with what states think about you? Why are you aping
what?
To get legitimacy from state structures?
This is word slop. This doesn't mean anything. What about legitimacy from state structures? I mean, like, the state is not an impartial entity. The capitalist state is not the socialist state, so I struggle to see what the fuck you're talking about, bro.
Why do the national boundaries of a country define your success as a movement? I thought...
He's talking about, like, national boundaries as if there's a bad thing right now. Like, we are in a capitalist, imperialist system where, of course, there are national boundaries. Like, the goal of Marxism-Leninism is internationalism. It's to abolish those boundaries and establish a world socialist republic, a union of unions within the next few stages of historical development. But this doesn't happen overnight. This doesn't happen right now in a capitalist system. You have to fight capitalism in the imperial core. And this is something you're actively working against by being against communism. You are serving the reaction. And so... Oh, astaghfirullah. I'm coming Hakeem right here. Fuck. Yeah, but like, I don't think the thing with him is that he doesn't understand Marxist theory. It's that he hasn't read it, and so he goes away from nuance and from actual analysis. Oh my god, how are there 40 people watching this right now? Usually it's like 10. um, but yeah, fuck. I'm going numb. Okay, people, we have a minute left of this to watch.
The workers had no nation. Why do you care so much about national boundaries? I thought that the whole point was we were trying to create worker power. My focus is on creating worker power. I don't give a shit if the worker power specifically claims the boundaries of the given nation. I
This doesn't mean anything. This is not profound.
care about how much success, how much movement towards the goal have they made. So this is just a very arbitrary requirement, which demonstrates a lack of understanding of how a horizontal revolutionary method actually works. The size is the thing, not whether it encompasses the national boundaries.
So the thing is the size, not the size. What the fuck are you talking about, man? Oh my god. These online anarchists are insufferable. And this is really in stark contrast to a few like in real life anarchists. Of course, it is a tendency that people should move away from because it's not a viable way to organize a revolution. But like anarchists who actually do shit IRL are not caught up like doing this kind of sloppy debunk of Marxism-Leninism. They are doing mutual aid. They are in community kitchens. They are feeding the homeless. They are doing exactly the same thing the Black Panthers were doing with the protracted People's War, organizing so people don't need the state. They don't sit in their fucking living room making videos debunking Marxism-Leninism or some shit. I say this while streaming about anarchism, but really, yeah. What can I say? He's not one to talk about the hypocrisy, whatever the fuck.
Would you really expect any movement, say in the United States, to have success by completely claiming the entire North American continent?
I mean, that's not the immediate goal. The goal is to spread this revolution. But yeah, like yeah, the okay, it's not to claim. It's that all nations have the right to self-determination, and like that's you want to abolish the capitalist mode of production and the imperialist fucking system of capitalism. Like, how do you even approach this? Because he hasn't made an argument yet. Maybe in the next 31 seconds of this video, he's gonna make one.
United States is massive. This seems to me like a lack of understanding of material conditions.
This is bold coming from you, bro.
And like what you...
Wait, what the fuck did he say?
This seems to me like a lack of understanding of material conditions.
After all this, he says that we do not understand material conditions.
And like...
I'm a hair away from going non-verbal here.
Like what you're doing is judging the success of the movement based on how it encompasses or doesn't encompass pre-established national boundaries, which really doesn't make any sense. The size, absolutely, size is very important when it comes to a revolutionary movement. Why do we care about if that size corresponds directly to the boundaries of the nation? That's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Okay, so yeah, video ended. There's no conclusion. He doesn't reiterate any points. And it's... Oh my god. What else even is there to be said on this matter? Like, this guy claims that Marxists are lying while himself either lying by being very disingenuous or by being fucking stupid. There's no in between. Like, I really struggle to see how this guy is on means.tv. Uh, like, this is the thing with BreadTube. They are too focused on having an opinion on anything and to sound smart rather than actually having principles and a viable analysis, an analysis that does concretely work. Yeah, like at least if you're gonna lie about Marxism, or if you're gonna, okay, if you're gonna talk about Marxism, don't start talking about like what it is and what it stands for. Don't tell us what we stand for. You haven't read the material. You haven't engaged with any actual Marxist literature. So at least admit that you haven't read it. Then we can discard your opinions and your ideas, but don't pretend like you did and that you know better. And yeah, freestyle. I argue the only reason that non-compete is a sane anarchist is because he married a Marxist-Leninist. His wife's running the show here. She's educating him. Bro, this is why men need to shut the fuck up online. Low-key, low-Kirkinianly. Let women Marxist-Leninists. I'm gonna dive into identity politics here. Women are less arrogant than this. Women don't have this urge to be fucking reactionary, arrogant assholes, except Ayn Rand, except Margaret Thatcher, except Nancy Pelosi, except Kamala Harris, except all the bourgeois types. Yeah, she is. She is. She absolutely is a revisionist. But yeah, what I wanted to get at is that like Sharkey very much so encapsulated this, that this kind of anarchism, because really this guy doesn't understand what anarchism is. He is saying, he's just typing shit really, and I don't know, bro. Like, you're absolutely right. It is petty bourgeois false consciousness, because they appeal to horizontalism, they appeal to like vague morals, denunciations of authority, but they don't actually like address how to take over the state, or to crush the bourgeois state apparatus. This is the same thing we've seen with like last week with Bad Mouse. There's no actual analysis here. It's just, every time you ask these people how they're going to achieve their thing or what they want, they either they describe worker co-ops, and they, like, you understand that they don't actually seek to overthrow capitalism, but just to like whatever the fuck. But instead, oh, what's important is what we think, or why we hold those values, or whatever, and not actually how to achieve things. Oh my fucking god. I'm going numb. I'm going non-verbal. Oh. Yes, they want, no, not only workers, like they want this cooperative system, right? Because the way they want anarchism to be organized is basically worker co-ops, and they don't actually explain how they're gonna do away with like capitalist relations, or wage labor, or like the system itself. I really don't know what to add here because there's so much to be said. There's so much that's been said. It took me 2 hours to go over this 12-minute video. And this is the same problem we have like these online conservatives and reactionaries. They lie, they misrepresent things. And it takes so long to deconstruct their claims because it's just so nonsensical. Like when someone doesn't make an actual argument, it's hard to deconstruct it, right? Because there's nothing to be deconstructed. And I wanted to take a moment also to read some comments that were on my other like anarchist content right here. So I'm gonna first go on the last stream. Yeah, Mata, I think I'm gonna do this more often. Early streams seem to get like more viewers and more people engaged. It's like really the main reason I do this in the format of a stream is first of all because I really love engaging with you guys. This is a great community, and I hope we can all like contribute to each other's like communist education. And the reason I do these streams is because I don't want to like spend time editing a video when going over this. Same thing when I was going over the PragerU stuff. Yeah. So there were a few comments. There was this Lexer guy saying like, I would rather you look at his other videos that handle specific topics and not his personal ideological change, when referring to the Banras video. But like, this exemplifies the thing with these internet anarchists, right? For them, it's all about personal ideological change, but this absolutely has to do with like the ideology itself, with the system, with the method of analysis. It's oh my god. Yeah, no, but one thing I can promise everyone here is that I'm never gonna sell out. I'm never gonna give away my principles for some dumb shit or opportunism. I am a principled Marxist-Leninist. I want to work towards a revolutionary goal, and I like my priority right now is organizing in real life, and I haven't been uploading as much recently because I've been knee deep in this. But yeah, one thing I will always stand for is Marxism-Leninism because once you reach this stage of analysis, if you go back, it just means that you are a petit bourgeois, opportunist, or you're just like completely defeatist. So, with all that said, I should watch, or at least look at some other comments before I go non-verbal. Okay, then so right, okay. I released this video earlier, sorry, this year. So the last 7 days been, yeah. It got 10,000 views, and one thing that's very like funny is that like most people just watch a part of it and don't engage with the actual content, but um, despite that, have a lot to say on the topic. Do I have anything held here? I should go over these comments one in one. Um, like most of them are like saying I misunderstand authority or that Engels misunderstood authority, but they don't explain why. They don't explain how they're going to achieve anarchism. Um, this person says, I completely disagree. Thank you for the arguments. Very outdated and naive critique. Thank you. Mind explaining why? Pretty sure Marx's case against anarchism was just killing anarchists because they didn't like authority in hellholes like that. Like if Stalin is created, the right answer to Marx in this case was invented in Finland. It's a special kind of cocktail. This is straight up Nazism. Cool. Like, talking about the risk of a vanguard party becoming oppressive, like, uh, it is. That's what democratic centralism is. Why did I like this? And of course, this guy's a fucking like Machno ghoul, talking about like how the Bolsheviks were authoritarians. And this is the funniest shit. This guy said, voluntarism is the only logical ism that can truly express freedom, independence, equality, human productivity, and sustainability, my friend. Prove me wrong. And like this saying like free market capitalism expresses equality and independence and freedom. Until that to the fucking slave laborers in India. I say your capitalist ideology survives on wage labor and exploitation of the global south. And then he said, wage labor? So you don't think I should be paid for my labor? What the fuck? I think you should be paid the full value of your labor. What the fuck is this? All of these people are petit bourgeois. This guy said, exploitation of the global south. Crying emoji. What on earth are you talking about, dude? Like, he's living in a like completely different reality. And like, government is always telling us lies, violating our rights, and taking our money. One thing always leads to another. And the woke take on this is that these libertarians have the same take on the state, like being like capitalist apologists and proponents of capitalism, as anarchists who think that the state is a neutral entity that doesn't express class rule. And the thing that like actual capitalists, people who own capital, know is that, I mean, not the petit bourgeois. Often they're not like they're getting cucked by the big corporations as well. Not that this absolves them, but like the big capitalists know that the state is an organ of class rule, that is a partial entity, and it's not like this oppressive entity, oppressive to them. They know that it serves their interests, so of course they support it, and they support every fucking policy that fucks over the working class. Like this anarchist said, queer anarchist here? I don't know. This is such a disingenuous counter-revolutionary take. Oh my fucking god. Like, and the thing is, like, oh no, not Persephone van der Woerd. Fucking hell. This was... this was awesome. And there's people saying like, all that thing is one huge mischaracterization. It's a complete joke. But like, do these people realize that he wrote this like when that was... It was in the era of like Bakunin. He wrote this in fucking 1871. It wasn't disingenuous. It was exactly what anarchists were doing back then. And it's similar to what they're doing back like right now, these days. Oh, okay. This guy's saying how Martin Luther is important. Okay. And this guy says one of the problems we anarchists have with historical materialism is that it straps in economics. It's not. It's Eurocentric. You mean to tell me that the guy who was born and lived in Europe and analyzed European capitalism analyzed Europe? Wow. Like, he's just saying like, Engels was racist, basically. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, Mango. I think we got overtaken by the the Van der Waard clique. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. How? Where do we even go from here? Oh, another thing I wanted to talk about is fucking dingus, bro. Like, I got banned from the deprogram. There's like r/tanky the deprogram, like this uh, so-called Marxist-Leninist server on Discord. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's Discord. Who fucking cares? Nothing ever happens on there. But like, Dengists have the same behavior as anarchists in the sense that they're gonna critique you. They're gonna call you anti-China. They're gonna call you un-Marxist. They're gonna call you like reactionary for opposing capitalism. I don't know. Ultroid. Yeah. So yeah, Dengists, not good. It is not principled to defend capitalist restoration. I don't know who told them that. It was, but sure, okay. Hi, Masi. Yeah, I'm in the later phase of the stream where I spent like 2 hours dunking on Anark for being basically an infantile liberal who doesn't have any idea what Marxism-Leninism is, yet tries to argue against it. I should watch some re-education sometime as well. Yeah, but something I really want to reiterate. I have still myself a lot of theory to read up on, and oftentimes I don't have like the best analysis. And on that question, like socialism for all, I want a name. What's this guy's name? Like, he's read like thousands of audiobooks, and his analysis is often better. I love the comments. If you have a chance, just pop by and give his stuff a watch, because yeah. Mm. I'm feeling lethargic because of this anarchist video. I'm definitely gonna have to cut this part out of the stream because it's gonna be copyrighted. But I think it's important for us to cleanse ourselves with a banger. What do the people have to say about this? Imagine being a revisionist and hearing this slowly approaching your house. I wish I could hear this through the many, many feet of concrete of my bunker. How wish I escaped revisionism by building a bunker within a bunker within a bunker within a bunker to hide in. Yeah. And something I want to show y'all too, while there's people watching. I came across this like a month ago. I hope he's gonna keep making content because it's very, very good. The Chain Slayer, he made like these two videos on the birth of adolescence, and adolescence, sorry, of class, state, and money, and then about feudalism being the womb of capitalism. I guess he has something else in the works, but like it's good shit. It's good shit.
What we're gonna be focusing on today.
Let me find the funny passage. And of course, this guy, like, he's read David Harvey, David Graeber, and of course Engels, Marx. My camera is hiding the fucking screen. I love this. Like, I love the way he's putting
At the
this.
very beginning, niggas wasn't building empires or stacking bands. Niggas was hunting and niggas was gathering, straight up. So you eat together and you die together. That's how niggas live. That's it. Survival forces cooperation.
And it's just like several hours of like very concise explanations. So yeah, I really do like this. En verhojatungyatjetta. Yeah, slow, bro. Long live Marxism-Leninism. Tung 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 sahur thought. Whatever. I'm trying to find a funny image. Bro. Actual brain rot. De. Yeah, of course, it's the Chain Slayer. Yeah. Actually, I'll send you this right now. Mango. Oh, sorry, I didn't answer you. Yeah. What was I trying to find? I was trying to find this fucking image, this dumbass thing about like Marx, Engels, and Tung Tung Sahur, but this is too brain dead for most people here. I say most. Reddit. Anything on Reddit? No. And what about Al Jazeera? Are there updates on the Iran war? Fuel costs. Fuck. Yeah. Insane fuel costs are going up. bro, at the beginning of like the Iran war, gas prices were 137 in Quebec City. Now they're approaching $2, and I'm shitting myself because I'm I have to fuel up like tomorrow. Fuck yeah. US to deploy 2,500 troops to the Middle East again. Yeah, can we also talk about how like the ground platinum and the types of defenders and the like imperialist apologists are crying that like, oh, those poor U.S. veterans and those poor soldiers that get sent to fight abroad, bro. You signed up voluntarily to kill people in the Middle East, to support the Israeli genocide of the Palestinian people. The same fucking people signed up to kill Vietnamese people. Like, I don't usually do moralism, but like, fucking hell, bro. Like, these people have no principles. Yeah, I hope the Iran war doesn't affect cigarette prices or cigar prices at that. But bro, you should stop smoking that fucking much. Yeah. I don't know why people like see the U.S. Marines as something different from the IOF. They are the same fucking thing. Yeah. So, right. Yeah, people with principles, they draft the draft. They dodge the draft. Enver harja tunga jetta tunga tieta. True. Absolutely true. So I think this stream has gone on for long enough. I will gladly continue, but I have so much things to do after this. Thank you all for joining. I think this was a very brain numbing experience watching through Anark's mischaracterization of Marxism-Leninism. I'm going to go back to the book I'm reading right now, Anti-During, because it's so peak. If you guys and girls and NBs and everywhere in between, whatever the hell, like sassy writers, Engels is incredible. I really love his writing style. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and I'll see y'all later in another video. Ciao. How do I stop this?